Chelsea won, Arsenal won, and although it is a shame we couldn't grind out the win, which would have closed the gap and made the table look a little bit different, ultimately there is a lot to be happy about in this game from the perspective of a Chelsea fan. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. What a game that was, man. What a game that was. It was always going to be tight. It was always going to be tense, but I didn't really foresee it playing out the way that it played out. There was theatrics, play acting, action. Do you know what I mean? People were battering each up all over the place. It was a little bit mental. There was a couple of goals. There was angry managers. But what there was more than anything, at least from a Chelsea perspective, was spirit, grit and determination. And that is something that we wouldn't necessarily have seen in this kind of situation a few months ago. But guys, before I get into it, if you're enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so we're going to do a little game overview, and then I'm going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to look at stats. We're going to look at the actual stats of the game, and I think that's really important in this game where there's no winner. It's really important just to see what went well and what didn't go well, right? But before we get into the game proper, let's have a little look at the lineup. So we had Robert Sanchez in goal, Malo Gusto at right back, the consistent, continued centre-back partnership of Trevor Chalobah and Wesley Fofana, which I'm really happy to see. Marc Cucurella on the left, Reece James and Moises Caicedo starting in the middle in the double pivot, Enzo Fernandez in the 10, Neto on the left, Esteval Willian trusted with the start on the right, and João Pedro got the start up top. So, just, before we get into the actual game itself, looking at that, that's a strong lineup. We've packed the midfield. We've got pace, flair and industriousness on the wings with Pedro Neto and Esteval. We've got a tricky operator in João Pedro up top. It looked good, man. It looked good. The first 38 minutes of the game, right, looked good from our perspective. Arsenal were dominating the ball throughout proceedings. We'll get into the possession stats a little bit later, but in general Arsenal were dominating the ball, but we were having the better chances and we were making it really, really, really difficult for Arsenal to play through us. It was a tough and fiery game from the off, man, from the off. You could tell there was so much more in this game than just the derby itself or the title challenge itself. Do you know what I mean? This was a really, really hot game and it really, really felt like it. And things were going well, man. We had a couple of good chances. Arsenal had one opportunity in the first half where Bukayo Saka shot it straight into the path of Robert Sanchez, and they weren't particularly scary in the first half at all. We really, really looked like we were in the ascendancy. We were on top, and even though we weren't having position, we were countering, and we were good on transition, and it looked like things were eventually going to fall our way. Enter Moises Caicedo in the 38th minute with a horror tackle on Mikel Merino. It was silly, man. It was silly, and I can only really, I guess part of us, we've got to go back to the conversation about discipline. That's 7 red cards, including Enzo Maresca's, in 15 games now, which has got to be unprecedented. I'll look into this a little bit later in another video, maybe, but I can't ever remember a season with any team getting players sent off so much, and it was a really emotionally charged game today. So it wasn't like, I don't know, it's really difficult, man. It wasn't like an absolutely ridiculous move from Moises Caicedo. I think he just got caught up in the moment and lost himself. And it was a bad tackle. It deserved a red card. Whether there were some other red cards that were also deserved from Arsenal's side is also up for debate as far as I'm concerned. I'm a bit confused as how Hincapié managed to stay on the pitch for the entire game. But ultimately, Moises Caicedo got sent off in the 38th minute, and the way we were playing already with Arsenal being dominant and us holding back looked like it was just about to get a lot harder. So we make it to the end of the first half, still 0-0. Okay, cool. We go back in, have to reorganise and replan and think what we're going to do. And we come back out and we are treated, after 3 minutes into the second half, a set-piece goal from Trevor Chalobah. Absolutely awesome. Love to see it. It was absolute cinema, scoring a set-piece against Arsenal to give us the lead in the game where we'd had a man sent off and all of the expectation was on them. Do you know what I mean? It really, really felt like we could go out and do something then. And you know what? There's a bit of an argument to say that we played better with 10 men than we did with the 11, and maybe that's because we've spent quite a long time playing with 10 men this season. But ultimately, with the red card and obviously getting that goal, what's really important to point out is when this happened to us in games previous, especially when there was still a lot of the game to play, often we could fall apart. We lost the Man United game, the Bayern Munich game. Do you know what I mean? A lot of these games where we got cards reasonably early in the game and we had to play a lot of the game down a man, we struggled to come back, right? And, you know, another thing Enzo Maresca did that I thought was quite good is he subbed Esteval for Garnacho. Esteval looked like he was struggling. I had a feeling that might be the case. Arsenal's defender's really, really good. And he put Garnacho on, who isn't as attacking and maybe not as flary, but he's athletic, he can sprint, he's got pace, he can defend a little bit as well, and he maybe could still make something happen in attack. That seemed like not a sideways move, but a reasonable tactical shift to me. So got to give it to Maresca. And like I say, you know, for us to even get that goal in the first place, after being a man down, going into the second half with all of the onus being on Arsenal, awesome. That shows grit, determination and winning mentality, which unfortunately we weren't able to carry out throughout the rest of the game because Arsenal did end up getting an equaliser, which was courtesy of Mikel Merino. We'll talk about him a little bit in a minute. A lovely cross from Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka generally didn't have an amazingly positive impact on the game, so I've got to give that to Marc Cucurella, even if Marc Cucurella was playing a dangerous game and was on the line several times of nearly getting sent off. But at the end of the day, Bukayo Saka got a really nice cross in. Mikel Merino with another randomly lovely striker's finish. Like, it's an interesting one, isn't it, man? They obviously spent all this money on Gyökeres, and Mikel Merino is easily their best striker in the squad. The man just knows a lovely finish. He's almost a bit like an Olivier Giroud, almost, isn't he? It's like, doesn't always score, but he's got that midfielder aspect and he can kind of, you know, he can hold up play, he can bring other players into play, and every now and again, lovely finish. So that was it for goals for the rest of the game. But ultimately, like I say, the thing that we absolutely can take away from this is not only if we'd have got a draw with 11 men on the pitch, I'd have been happy with that too. Do you know what I mean? Going up against Arsenal at this point in the season, we are the massive underdogs. I'd have been happy with the draw today, and just the fact that Arsenal didn't steamroll all over us. And that not only did that not happen, we got that result with a man down and we didn't fall apart. The players kept their heads, Maresca kept his head, and we managed to grind out a draw. And that is like, it's a much more positive result for Chelsea than it is for Arsenal. So, you know, from the perspective of a Chelsea fan, even though it wasn't a win, Arsenal fans would be livid about that. They you know, the bottle is starting to twist open, isn't it? If you can't take advantage, the best team in the league can't take advantage of a 10-man Chelsea, mate, what does that say about your title aspirations for and the challenge for Arsenal this season, right? So, you know, not only have we kept the gap the same and we've actually helped Man City, because obviously Man City are ahead of us in the table now. We are third, Man City are second. You know, we've closed the gap a little bit. It is not quite as scary as it was. And maybe this is the beginning of the downfall for Arsenal, right? I would absolutely love to see it, but we move. So we're going to have a little look at the stats for the game right now. In particular, I wanted to look at these because it was a draw. Like I say, it's difficult to, you know, obviously Chalobah played really, really well. Robert Sanchez was absolutely wicked, but being it was a draw and it wasn't like laden with beautiful attacking play, do you know what I mean? Let's have a little look through the stats, which I have pulled from SofaScore, and that will tell us a little bit about how the game went in general. So possession-wise, 38% to us, 62% to Arsenal. So that is by design. Do you know what I mean? When Chelsea's possession is that low, that's absolutely Maresca saying to the team, right, let Arsenal have the ball. We're going to be compact, stodgy, difficult to play against, and we're going to look for oppositions on transition and on the counter. And ostensibly, that's what happened. Obviously, our goal came from a set piece, but we did have a load of really good chances that came from those transition moments as well. Expected goals, Chelsea 0.79 to Arsenal 1.26. So Chelsea overperformed their XG, Arsenal underperformed their XG. Cool, and you know, you would have thought they would have had lots more chances than us and lots more better chances, especially after having a man sent off for us, but that wasn't the case. Big chances, Chelsea 1, Arsenal 2. So that says that we took the chances that we made that were available to us, and again, Arsenal underperformed in that metric. Total shots, 11 to us, 8 to Arsenal. So despite having barely any possession, we were getting into those attacking positions much more often. Goalkeeper saves, 3 to 3, so 3 apiece. Fair play. Sanchez had a wicked game, man. Sanchez was really, really, really good today. He's growing before our very eyes is the honest answer. And it might even get to a point where like we get to the end of the season and maybe the question isn't about who do we bring in to replace him. Maybe it becomes about giving him another season and ultimately letting Penders develop out at Strasbourg. At the moment, Sanchez is not showing us why he shouldn't be the number one. We're not looking at Sanchez and being like, oh, if we had another goalkeeper and things would be much better. Like, Sanchez did really good today, man. He's making clutch saves. He looks a lot more confident. He's making a lot less mistakes, errors, and having generally less anxiety-driven bozo moments. So Sanchez did really good today. And at the moment, as of right now, I don't think going out and getting another keeper to fight with him or to take his spot, as of right now, like in January, for instance, is necessarily the best thing to do. Corner kicks 3-3 doesn't tell you a huge amount, just that things were happening at each end of the pitch. Fouls is an interesting one, right? 12 fouls from Chelsea, 13 from Arsenal. Arsenal had 6 yellow cards in this game, man. It is madness that we only got 2 cards in the game. I think, hold on, let me double check that. Yeah, 2 cards in the game. Cucurella in the 11th minute, and obviously Moises Caicedo getting off. Arsenal got 6 cards in this game, man. Zubimendi, Mosquera, Calafiori, Hincapié, so instantly all of their defence. Miles Lewis-Skelly, who came on for Calafiori, almost instantly got a yellow card as well, and then Gyökeres got one towards the end of the game for a bit of a scary challenge on Robert Sanchez in the box, actually kind of kneed him in the chest. Nothing, or obviously he got the yellow card for it. They looked into it and said that it was reckless, but not dangerous, so it wasn't with his feet or anything, so he got away with that one. But just to go back to the cards thing, like how have they not had a man sent off? Hincapié should have been sent off, man. Hincapié should absolutely have been sent off when he headbutted or elbowed Trevor Chalobah in the face, and he had this massive lump, and then he did the same thing to João Pedro, and that was after getting a yellow card. Don't know what's going on there. Talk to me if you have a better idea of it than I do. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. But as far as I can see, Arsenal probably should have been a man down. So passes is kind of what you expect. It was, we were really, really low possession. 269 from Chelsea, 459 from Arsenal. That's just kind of to be expected. We gave them the ball for the majority of this game, and that's kind of always how it was going to play out based on the tactics that Maresca obviously set up for. Tackles, a really interesting one. 12 from us, 15 from Arsenal. So despite them having the majority of the ball, they were still really getting in there with the tackles as well, and they were winning the ball back, so fair play to them for that. Free kicks, 13-12. Again, very, very cagey. Yellow cards, 1 for us, 6 for Arsenal, and red cards, 1 for us, none for Arsenal. So what these stats kind of tell me is that, and bearing in mind, we were a man down for the second half, it was a really even game. Do you know what I mean? It was a really even game, and obviously that's reflected in the result as well. Arsenal were trying to go on the attack. We absolutely stifled them. And this is really impressive from Enzo Maresca in particular, because he's showing his ability to be able to adapt to different play styles based on the different teams that he's playing. We saw it with PSG, where we went really in on the attack. We saw it with Barcelona, where we were pressing really hard and we were absolutely going at them. And again, we've seen something completely different against Arsenal today, where we are sitting back and looking for opportunities and looking to frustrate them. So I really like that from Enzo Maresca, because what a lot of Leicester fans told us about him in particular at the beginning is Maresca is a system guy. He's got his system and his way of playing, and he's really, really frustrating. But he seems to have developed and evolved from that, man. Do you know what I mean? We haven't got an Ange Postecoglou style manager that absolutely won't deviate from his system at all. We have seen a manager that is willing to make changes and put people in different positions and play to the opponent, do you know what I mean, where necessary. There's no point in going up against Arsenal and saying, right, we're just going to go balls out attack. Do you know what I mean? There's really no point in that. They're the league leaders. They've scored a lot of goals. They've got a lot of clean sheets. It was always going to be about getting the opportunity, and that goes double for the man being sent off as well. Have to give Enzo Maresca praise, because he's made bad decisions before, and we've lost games because we didn't know how to handle that game with 10 men. The mentality was there, the tactics were there, and it didn't look like we were a man down for a lot of the game. Do you know what I mean? And in that second half, arguably we played better. We had more chances. They naturally started playing a high line after we'd had a man sent off, and we were still looking for opportunities to take advantage of that, man, at the end of the day. So a couple of subs brought on. So yeah, like I said before, Garnacho for Esteval at half time, which made sense. And for the 55th minute, Liam Delap came on for João Pedro. João Pedro actually had a really good game, man. He didn't, a header that he nearly scored, but ultimately he was doing the link-up stuff really, really, really well. I do understand why we brought Liam Delap on, because the game was in the ascendancy and Maresca still wanted to win it, which I absolutely love. And getting that, with that kind of last half an hour to go and Arsenal getting a bit tired and stuff, yeah, okay, cool. But do you know what I will say for Arsenal? The game changed when they brought their 2 subs on, and they didn't really talk about it much in the commentary, but they brought on Martin Ødegaard and Noni Madueke, and they scored within the first few minutes, and instantly that just looked to throw us off a little bit, because Martin Ødegaard was getting on the ball a lot at the beginning, and you know, it really, really changed the state of play for a little while. It ended up settling back down, but unfortunately only after they got their goal. So Robert Sanchez got Who Scored man of the match, which I think is absolutely deserved. Trevor Chalobah got 7.8 for Who Scored, obviously because he got the goal as well. Moises Caicedo with a 5.8. They gave Pedro Neto a 6.4, which I think was a bit low. I think Pedro Neto was actually pretty good in this game. A couple of scuff chances, maybe a few opportunities that he could have done better stuff with, but he was almost like leading that front line, man. He was a really, really important, like, not in terms of like a striker, but just in terms of the personality being up there. Like, he was really reliable. He just kept on sprinting, man. He just kept on sprinting. He looked knackered by the end of it, but he just kept on going. Really good performance from Pedro Neto for me. Marc Cucurella, not an amazing performance from Marc Cucurella, actually. I think Marc Cucurella maybe got a little bit too involved in the event as well, but he did cause chaos, but he wasn't his usual kind of solid self. He looked a little bit like, a little bit caught in headlights a couple of times. But at the end of the day, he didn't get sent off, which is, that's the best I can hope for in that situation. So that's it, guys. Arsenal won, Chelsea won. But there is, a couple of things to talk about, specifically pertaining to Moises Caicedo. So because Moises Caicedo got a straight red card, which again, like, I can't really argue with that, man. It was a bit of a horrendous challenge. He's now going to miss the next 3 Premier League games, domestic games at least. So that's not just Premier League, sorry. So our next 3 games, I think they said in the commentary, it's going to be Leeds, Bournemouth and Everton. On the face of it, not terrible, is it, to be completely honest? Leeds, that will be that's one we'll expect to win. Bournemouth can be a tricky game, but ultimately that's going to probably be more about getting through their defence than it is worrying about having Caicedo to intercept attacks and stuff, and Everton are on-off patchy, but again, none of these 3 teams are teams that you're like, oh, we're going to be an absolute mess without Moises Caicedo. Do you know what I mean? Reece James is playing really well in midfield. He took that lone 6 role when Moises Caicedo went off and looked really, really good there. Andre Santos was brilliant against Burnley, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him to come into some of these games as well and play that same sort of role. As if our midfield depth wasn't already a problem, man. We're literally at this point just going to be putting fullbacks in there, isn't it? We're going to start playing Josh Achiampong at right back, and then it's just going to be Malo Gusto and Reece James as our midfield, isn't it? We're just going to have fullbacks all over the pitch. That's probably what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, this is one of the good things about having these kind of versatile players. For me, Reece James does look like he's really growing into that midfielder role as well, man. I'm actually, I think he looked great today. The passing was really good. His tackling was really good. Like I say, the leadership from there as well. I like having a captain in the middle of the pitch because he can it's easier for him to affect both sides of the game. So we're just going to have to see what happens with that, man, aren't we? At the end of the day, 3 games without Moises Caicedo isn't ideal, but to try and look at some sort of weird backwards positive about it, he's obviously been suffering with injury stuff recently. He'll still be training with the team and he'll still feature in the Champions League. But ultimately, maybe a little bit of an enforced rest for Moises Caicedo isn't the end of the world. And, if we can have him back ready and fit and really, really feeling good when we do have some bigger games start to come up towards the end of the year, then I don't think that's a terrible thing at all. So that's it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks very much for sticking around until the end of the video if you did. If you're chilling, you've got a tasty beverage and you want to listen to some more Stamford Sync, I implore that you check out this video here, which pre the Arsenal game was a comparison I did between Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo to see who really is the better baller and the most complete player. Nice one, guys. I hope you have an absolutely wicked day and I'll catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.